Most people don't find love because they are searching for a mirror to their own desperation, rather than a partner for their purpose. We treat the heart like a marketplace, bartering our insecurities for the temporary anesthesia of another's attention, wondering why the foundation crumbles at the first sign of a storm. You are told that love is a find, a stroke of luck, a cosmic accident that happens to the chosen few who perform the right rituals of modern dating. This is the first lie of the ego, a comforting myth designed to absolve you of the responsibility of your own character. True love is not found. It is recognized by a soul that has already become what it seeks, a resonance between two individuals who have stopped using each other as a crutch and started using each other as a catalyst for growth. The world is a cacophony of voices telling you that you are incomplete, a half-formed creature wandering the earth in search of a missing piece. This spiritual poverty is the primary obstacle to the very thing you desire, for hunger cannot distinguish between a feast and a trap. When you approach the altar of companionship with a void in your chest, you do not attract a partner. You attract a predator or a fellow beggar, and the resulting union is merely a shared bankruptcy. To find a love that is good, you must first dismantle the machinery of your own neediness. You must become a fortress, not to keep the world out, but to ensure that when the gates finally open, they do so by choice, not by compulsion. The first pillar of the path to a high-virtue union is the mastery of solitude, or what the Stoics might call the inner citadel. Most relationships are born from the fear of being alone, a frantic attempt to escape the terrifying silence of one's own mind. But silence is the only laboratory where character is forged. If you cannot sit in a room alone for an hour without the itch for distraction, you are not ready for a partner. You are merely looking for a distraction with a pulse. A gut love requires two whole numbers, not two fractions trying to make a one. You must reach a state where another person's presence is a luxury you enjoy, rather than a necessity you require for survival. Only then can love be a free act of the will, rather than a desperate reflex of the ego. Solitude is not a state of lack, but a state of abundance where you finally stop negotiating with your shadows and start observing them with the cold eye of a Zen strategist. When you no longer fear the void, you no longer project your internal chaos onto the people you meet. You stop asking, "How can this person fix me?" and begin asking, "Is this person's soul worthy of the space I have cleared?" This shift in perspective is the ultimate filter. It transforms you from a victim of circumstance into a curator of your own environment. The man or woman who is truly comfortable in their own skin possesses a gravity that the desperate can never emulate. You become a lighthouse, and lighthouses do not go running all over an island looking for boats to save. They just stand there, shining. The second pillar is the scalpel of discernment, the ability to prioritize virtue over chemistry. We live in an age that worships the spark, a volatile chemical reaction that is often nothing more than two traumas recognizing each other in the dark. The Stoic understands that feelings are indifference. They are weather patterns that pass through the mind, often unbidden and always unreliable. To build a lasting love, you must look past the adrenaline of the initial encounter and examine the architecture of the other person's soul. Do they possess temperance? Do they exhibit justice in their dealings with the world? Are they courageous in the face of their own flaws? If the character is hollow, no amount of chemistry will prevent the eventual collapse of the structure. Discernment is the art of seeing the world as it is, not as your loneliness wishes it to be. It requires you to be a cold-blooded investigator of reality, observing how a person treats those who can do nothing for them, and how they handle the small indignities of a Tuesday afternoon. We often ignore the red flags of character because we are intoxicated by the white flags of surrender. We want to believe that love can change a person, but Zen teaches us that people only change when the pain of remaining the same exceeds the pain of the transformation. You cannot build a temple on a swamp. You must find someone who has already begun the work of draining their own marshes. The third pillar is the practice of radical presence. the zen of truly seeing the other. In our digital delirium, we have lost the ability to listen with our entire being. We listen to respond, to defend, or to judge, but rarely do we listen to understand. Good love is sustained by the quiet, consistent act of witnessing the other person's existence without the filter of your own expectations. When you give someone your undivided attention, you are giving them the most valuable currency in the universe. You are saying, "I see the light and the shadow in you, and neither scares me." This level of presence creates a sanctuary where the other person feels safe enough to drop their armor, and it is only in the absence of armor that true intimacy can breathe. Presence is not a passive state. It is an active discipline of the mind. It is the refusal to let the ghosts of the past or the anxieties of the future hijack the current moment. When you are with your partner, be there entirely. Do not be half submerged in a screen or lost in a mental rehearsal of tomorrow's battles. The Stoic knows that the present moment is the only piece of reality we actually own. To squander it by being mentally absent is a form of theft. You are stealing the experience of love from yourself and from the other. A relationship is not a destination you reach. It is a continuous series of nows that must be tended like a garden, with patience and a sharp focus on the soil. The fourth pillar is the philosophy of amor fati, the love of fate. In the context of love, this means accepting the other person in their entirety, including the parts that are inconvenient or difficult. We often fall in love with a curated version of a person and then spend the next decade trying to litigate the reality out of them. This is the path to resentment. To love well is to embrace the totality of the person's journey, recognizing that their flaws are often the scars of their survival. You do not love them in spite of their history. You love them because of the way they have navigated it. This doesn't mean accepting abuse, but it does mean abandoning the arrogant project of fixing someone to fit your personal specifications. Amor fati requires a profound humility, a realization that you are just as flawed and difficult to live with as the person across the table. It is the end of the if-only games. If only they were more ambitious. If only they were more expressive. These are the whispers of the ego trying to maintain control. When you stop trying to edit your partner, you create the space for them to actually evolve. Ironically, people are most likely to change when they feel completely accepted for who they are. Acceptance is the solvent that dissolves the walls of defense. It is the realization that the friction between two souls is not a sign of failure, but the very mechanism by which the rough edges of the ego are polished away. The fifth and most difficult pillar is the voluntary death of the ego. Modern culture views love as an acquisition, a way to enhance the self and its brand. But ancient wisdom suggests that love is a sacrifice, not of your dignity or your values, but of your insistence on being the center of the universe. It is the transition from I to we, a shift in the gravitational center of your life. This is not a loss of self, but an expansion of it. It is the Stoic recognition that we are social animals, designed for oikiosis, the widening of our circles of concern. When you truly love, the other person's well-being becomes indistinguishable from your own. Their pain is your pain. Their triumph is your triumph. This death of the ego is the delayed synthesis of the entire path. It is the realization that love is not a feeling you have, but an action you take. It is a daily decision to put the health of the union above the petty desires of the individual me. It is the discipline of choosing kindness over being right and curiosity over being certain. In the Zen tradition, this is the no self in action. When two people operate from this place, the relationship becomes a third entity, a sacred space that is greater than the sum of its parts. This entity must be protected and nourished, even when the individuals within it are tired, angry, or bored. Love is the ultimate training ground for the soul. We are told that love should be easy, that it should flow like a river without obstacles. This is a dangerous sentimentality. Anything of value in this life is forged in the fire of resistance. A good love is often a difficult love, because it demands that you confront your own selfishness, your own fears, and your own inconsistencies. It is a mirror that refuses to lie to you. The Stoic does not pray for a life without storms. They pray for a ship that can withstand them. Similarly, you should not look for a partner who makes your life easy. Look for a partner who makes you want to be better. Look for a partner who challenges your excuses and holds you to the standard of your highest self. The modern dating landscape is a desert of superficiality, a race to the bottom of the lizard brain. To navigate it, you must be a strategist of the spirit. You must be willing to be misunderstood by the masses who are looking for a quick fix for their loneliness. You must be willing to say no to the many so you can say yes to the one who truly resonates with your frequency. This requires a terrifying level of patience. It requires the Zen-like ability to wait without anxiety, trusting that the work you are doing on your own character is the most powerful magnet in existence. You do not need to hunt for love. You need to prepare the terrain so that love can take root. Consider the metaphor of the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The vessel is not fixed to look new. Its cracks are highlighted, making it more beautiful and valuable than it was before the break. A good love is a kintsugi love. It acknowledges the brokenness of the human condition and uses the gold of commitment and virtue to bind the pieces together. It does not hide the scars. It honors them as evidence of resilience. If you are looking for a perfect, unblemished partner, you will die alone. But if you are looking for someone whose cracks are filled with the same gold as yours, you will find a kingdom. The trap of expectation is the primary killer of joy. We enter relationships with a list of demands, a script that we expect the other person to follow. When they inevitably deviate from the script, we feel betrayed. But the other person is not an actor in your play. They are the protagonist of their own. Zen teaches us that all suffering comes from attachment to a specific outcome. To love well, you must let go of the how and the when. You must love the person in front of you, not the idealized ghost you've created in your mind. This freedom from expectation is the only way to experience the true essence of the other. It is the difference between owning a bird and watching it fly. As we approach the end of this manual for the heart, understand that the synthesis of these 5 pillars is not a destination, but a lifestyle. Self-sufficiency, discernment, presence, acceptance, and the sacrifice of ego are not things you do, they are things you become. They are the tools of the philosophical architect. When you live by these principles, your life takes on a different quality. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop begging and start offering. The world begins to respond to your internal order. You realize that the good love you were searching for was never a person to be found, but a state of being to be achieved. Love is the ultimate Stoic exercise in control and surrender. You control your own character, your reactions, and your commitment. You surrender the outcome, the other person's choices, and the timing of the universe. This tension is where the growth happens. It is the crucible where the lead of the ego is transformed into the gold of the spirit. Do not be discouraged by the failures of the past. Every bad love was a lesson, a necessary data point in the mapping of your own soul. They were the rough drafts of the masterpiece you are now building. The pain was not a mistake. It was the friction required to wake you up. The final truth is this: love is a service, not a consumption. You do not go into a relationship to get something. You go in to be something. You go in to be the witness, the anchor, the challenger, and the friend. If both people enter with the mindset of a servant king, the relationship becomes unbreakable. It becomes a fortress against the chaos of the world, a place of profound peace and strategic power. This is the delayed synthesis of the path. The ultimate love is not a romantic indulgence. It is a spiritual alliance that allows two people to fulfill their individual purposes more effectively than they ever could alone. So stop looking for the right person and start being the right person. Burn your list of requirements and write a list of virtues you intend to embody. The universe does not reward your needs. It rewards your alignment. If you want a love that is deep, be deep. If you want a love that is honest, be honest. If you want a love that is courageous, stop hiding. The search is over. The work has just begun. Now go into the world not as a hunter, but as a harvest. The right soul will recognize the scent of your discipline from miles away, and when they arrive, you will finally be ready to receive them without destroying them.